Welcome back everyone to another video, and today we are talking about JJ McCarthy and the Vikings offense heading into the 2024 NFL season. And this is one of the more intriguing situations, at least in my opinion, for really any offense. I mean, I'm not going to say like out of all their offenses, but maybe as far as rookie quarterbacks go, heading into next season, because there's a lot of different things to weigh here, especially just McCarthy as a prospect. And so I'm going to basically format this video like I've done the past however many now, as far as, like Joe Burrow video and Bryce Young and Caleb Williams and Drake May, all that kind of stuff. So if you haven't seen those, go check those out. But anyway, let's get into JJ McCarthy's video here. So he had a 6.40 prospect grade, which is equivalent to will become a good starter within 2 years. Obviously, national champion there at Michigan. I know there's a lot of questions around him as far as how much he elevated the guys around him compared to how much he just kind of benefited off of Michigan's very good defense and Michigan's very good running game. But while I think he definitely benefited off of that, which isn't his fault, it just happened to have a good team around him, I think he also did play very well, and he did get the ball to receivers when it mattered, and he was, I think, fairly clutch as well. So we'll get into all that right now, though. So as I've done in videos past, I'm going to go over his strengths and his weaknesses. I am not going to talk on every single one of these. So if you guys want to pause the video, read them, whatever you want to do there. I'm going to highlight a few, though. Number one is plenty of experience working under center in pro-style passing scheme. And the other one I want to highlight is, I just lost it now, makes drive throws between defenders with good decisiveness. So two things. First off, the first one, having experience in a pro-style offense is obviously a huge plus, especially because a lot of questions around certain prospects, not saying this year's, but just in general for quarterbacks, is how they transition to the NFL game speed and NFL offenses, because it is a lot more complicated. So it's good that he does have experience in a pro-style passing scheme. And then for the second one, makes drive throws between defenders with good decisiveness. That's very important too, because again, I've said this before in past videos, but a receiver being open in the NFL is not the same as in college, and the separation is not as big a lot of times. So that's a huge plus. Although if you go down to weaknesses, though, the one that scares me the most is leaves throws behind moving targets, allowing defenders to challenge catches. So again, like I just said, the separation of open in college and NFL is much different. So if you're leaving the ball behind guys in college, that's something you got to work on, because if you're leaving behind in college, it's going to be much more behind in the NFL. And, you never want to give a defender a chance to make a play on the ball when he's already out of the play. I mean, if Justin Jefferson has almost a yard of separation and you throw the ball, behind him, he has to reach back for it, gets picked off. Like, if the guy's made the play, you got to get the ball there. And if it's a weakness that you leave them behind, that's usually where the defender is if someone's open. So not all the time, but a lot of times. So that's something that he needs to get cleaned up. I do trust the Vikings coaching staff, though, to help that a lot. And we'll get into that a bit more here in just a second. So, again, not going to go through all of these. Just something that stuck out to me that I wanted to highlight. But there was a lot there. I do think he was, I don't want to say underrated, but I think not taken almost as seriously as he should have been as a prospect, because I think he has a lot of good stuff here. Now, as I said, for strengths and weaknesses, whenever I mentioned the Vikings coaching staff, I want to touch on that in just a second. But first, this is the depth chart as of right now. Now, Sam Darnold is the quarterback, and again, we'll talk on that in a little bit as well. But Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Brandon Powell, TJ Hawkinson, CJ Ham, Christian Darrisaw, Dalton Reisner, Garrett Bradbury, Ed Ingram, and Brian O'Neill. So first off, let's start with Sam Darnold, though. As a Panthers fan, I got to really watch Sam Darnold a lot a couple seasons ago. And, to Sam Darnold's credit, I don't think he's as bad as everyone says he is. I don't think he's a great quarterback. But I think he almost just, it became a meme almost to just kind of just rip on him, even though sometimes he honestly made some pretty good throws. And he's a very underrated runner as well. So I want to highlight that as well. Darnold is not the worst quarterback option in the world, but it also, to me, sticks out as, someone they can roll with for the first 4 weeks, see how he does. If he's absolutely terrible, throw McCarthy in there. But McCarthy isn't in a spot where he absolutely has to start week 1. And a lot of times, quarterbacks being able to sit out for really any period of time can really make all the difference, rather than throwing them in there week 1. And, sometimes it does not go the best. So I like that a lot, that the Vikings do have someone to where they can be somewhat patient with, see how Darnold does, and it's not going to make them have to reach and get desperate and put someone that's not ready for the role of starting quarterback. Like, they're not going to have to force McCarthy into that role too early, basically. However, if he does get the starting role week 1 or at any point this season, and I would be pretty surprised if Darnold goes all 17 games, to be honest with you. So at any point he gets in, his surrounding cast is very, very good. And we've talked about this with Caleb Williams, because he has, one of the better situations around him for any rookie quarterback in recent memory. And Drake May I mentioned because, he's kind of on the opposite of that. Like, he doesn't have the best guys around him. And I did a video on this because I love the prospects they drafted. So it's like, as of right now, it's going to be rough for the Patriots. But I think as the years go on, May will also be surrounded, assuming the Patriots continue to surround him, he'll be surrounded by, some great young talent there as well. The difference here is that while the talent is still relatively young, it is exceptional. I mean, Justin Jefferson is not an old player by any means, and he is arguably the best receiver in the entire NFL. Jordan Addison is only in his second year, and he was one of the touchdown leaders in the entire NFL last year. Brandon Powell is a very solid wide receiver 3. I don't want to say he's, incredible. In my opinion, KJ Osborne, who they lost to this coming season, or this past offseason, I guess, he went to, I can't even remember where now for some reason. But Brandon Powell, regardless, is still, I think, a very solid wide receiver number 3. TJ Hawkinson is an excellent tight end. He's coming off that ACL injury, though, so I don't think he's ready for week 1. Could be wrong about that. I don't think he will be. I think that'll be like a mid-season thing. But Josh Oliver will probably stand in there, and I think he's quite good, at least, relative to the team. So that's the thing that really makes a difference to me, is that McCarthy's in a pretty good spot to where he can be relatively comfortable if he gets in, even though he's not like graded as a day 1 starter like Caleb Williams is. He has a very good surrounding cast where he should be able to be pretty confident, play his game. Not too much will be asked of him to where he has to make uncomfortable throws and get into situations where he has to feel like he has to do everything himself. I don't think that's going to really be the case. Even Aaron Jones, he's excellent as a receiving back. So I think McCarthy is actually set up for success as far as the surrounding offense goes. And also, I think he fits the system really well. I think Kevin O'Connell's a great coach, and I think that his system that Kirk's been in, I think it's going to really benefit McCarthy as well. He doesn't have to do too much on the run. And again, as a strength of his already being or having experience in a pro-style offense, I think that'll also come into play as well as he picks things up. And as far as news out of OTAs and any of that stuff, if he's like, not picking it up well and all that kind of stuff, I don't read too much into that at all, because a lot of times it's either just completely fabricated or it is somewhat true, but it's like, that's not a real test. I mean, last season, CJ Stroud looked horrible in preseason, and then he came out and was like, a top 10 quarterback as a rookie, one of the best rookie quarterback seasons, ever. So I'm not going to read too much into the offseason stuff. If it's whatever they're saying is what they're saying, but I think expecting it to be, when we're looking at this for week 1, this is what we have, regardless of what we're hearing out of OTAs, and this is what I kind of want to focus on. I'm not going to run with media narratives, if that makes sense. However, though, we've talked about, a lot of the good stuff. Let's get into some of the not great stuff. The Vikings have a lot of changes over the past 2 years. A couple seasons ago, you lose Adam Thielen and Dalvin Cook. Now going into this season, you lose Alexander Madison, and you lose KJ Osborne. You lose Kirk Cousins, obviously. So there's a lot of change, but you still have your biggest weapon in Justin Jefferson. Jordan Addison showed a ton of promise. So while it's a different look, I don't think it's a bad look. However, it's still a different look. So it might still have some growing pains in there is kind of what I'm getting at. And the other thing I want to consider is the schedule this year. The Vikings have a pretty tough schedule, and I was actually very surprised to see this. In my opinion, the must-win games that the Vikings have to hit on are Giants week 1, are Arizona in week 13, and, Tennessee in week 11. That's pretty much it. I think the rest of these games are going to be very tough, very competitive, and that's why, in my opinion, I don't think you should just throw McCarthy out there week 1, because he goes out there week 1, he does great against New York maybe. Hey, you know what? Great start. That's awesome. And then turns around week 2 against San Francisco, likely struggles, and now you wreck his confidence. I don't, if it's not like a must to have him there week 1, I wouldn't do it. I would really let Darnold show you what he has. And the longer McCarthy gets to sit and develop and learn, I think the better, to be honest. Because at any point when he comes in this season, it is going to be tough. It really is. Unless he really just kind of comes in at that week 13 Arizona game. From there on out, it's relatively easy compared to some of the previous games. But you still have to play Chicago, who's going to be pretty good. Seattle always has a very solid defense, it seems like. Green Bay should be good, and the Lions are very, very good. So it's not the best situation to just want to throw someone in if they're not ready for it. And again, like I said, I don't think he's in a situation to do that. It's about just trusting the Vikings coaching staff to not do something irresponsible with him. However, as a player and being on the Vikings right now, I think McCarthy's in a very good situation. I think Jaden Daniels is the better prospect and the better player, but I would argue McCarthy's in a better situation than him because it's not a new head coach in there. It's not, guys like Jahan Dotson having to step up, and even maybe Luke McCaffrey stepping up. You have Justin Jefferson, you have Jordan Addison, you have a very solid tight end. Brandon Powell is not even, he's a good enough starter. So I like McCarthy's situation a lot, and I feel like it honestly hasn't been talked about a whole lot, at least to the point where I think it's probably deserved for him. So my hope is that the Vikings do not put this guy in a situation where he shouldn't be in if he's not ready yet. And honestly, I think when the time is right, if Darnold goes back to how he's played in the past, making just really odd throws and bad decisions, then you give this guy a shot. But I think regardless, it's going to be a very tough year. You're in a very tough division. The NFC North is going to be a fight. It's going to be very, very, very tough. Same with the AFC North. Both conference North divisions of each conference are being incredibly competitive. And the Vikings could very well get last in this division and still be over 500. I think it's very possible. So it'll be tough, but I think McCarthy's in a great spot where he can succeed. And if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. I'm going to try and hit every single team once with this kind of video. If I don't get to your team, I am doing a very in-depth look at every single team's season. I know this wasn't in-depth. This is only offense. Later on this offseason, we'll be doing team-specific videos that will probably be over an hour long, going over the offense, the defense, key players, schedule, player health, all that kind of stuff. So if that sounds interesting to you guys, be sure to subscribe to my channel on the road to 1,000 subscribers. So I do appreciate all the support there. But yeah, leave a like. Thank you guys for watching. I do really appreciate it. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.